Welcome to Podheim, Jiroc's Valheim podcast. Let's give him the business.
Hey everybody, today is June 7th, 2022. I'm your host, Jiroc the Viking, and joining me today are my fellow Vikings, Gwen the Shield Maiden.
Hello.
Shield Maiden, Morning Darkness.
Hello.
And joining us for the first time is Viking the Halitosis Kid.
Hey, how you doing?
Remember that first time you chopped a tree down and it fell on your head, giving you the business? I bet you tried to trick your friends into standing near a tree as you chopped it down so they could get the business too. Well, you can give your friend the business again. All you have to do is share our podcast with them. Podheim, Jiroc's Valheim podcast. We'll give them the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today I want to introduce our guest co-host, the Halitosis Kid. Welcome to the podcast, HK.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
So can you first off explain to our audience what halitosis means and why you're named the Halitosis Kid?
Sure. I guess I've always been one for self-deprecating humor, so it fits me well. I don't know if you remember the game Bloodborne. When that was out, you could it was like a Souls game, and there was a lot of PvP. So I changed my name to Halitosis. So whenever I killed someone in PvP, they would see a message basically saying, "You've been killed by bad breath." And then it just kind of stuck. When I started playing another game, I changed it to the Halitosis Kid because it was a cowboy themed game.
So the cowboy version stuck, huh?
Yeah.
Yeehaw for that.
There you go.
Oh no.
You darn tootins, Thorin, if you're listening. So halitosis, or HK for short, is probably what I'll say, one of those two. Can you tell our audience where you're from in the world?
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I used to always say that's where I am from, but I've been in Los Angeles for significantly longer than I lived in D.C., so I guess I'm from L.A.
Yeah, I grew up in L.A., but I left when I just barely entered adulthood around 19, so I don't really say I'm from Los Angeles. I've spent most of my adult life in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I pretty much say that's where I'm from. But can you tell us what kind of games you used to play before you discovered Valheim?
Well, my first video game I ever played was Space Invaders in like the roller rink lobby. But since then, I've kind of moved on to. I played a lot of Civilization and top-down strategy games like that, and then I moved into first-person shooters, and then I found my biggest love, which is role-playing video games. The one I played most recently that I loved was Divinity: Original Sin, and then Valheim, building games, Minecraft, stuff like that, where I can, harvest and build and try and make things look good.
Ah, right. So did you play many other MMOs?
I did. I played, let's see, I started with Ultima Online. Actually,
yeah,
no,
too.
That's not true. I'm sorry. I started with multi-user dungeons on BBSs. I might be really dating myself there. Games like Trade Wars and stuff like that.
I remember playing some of those.
Yeah. Turn left. No, was it north, west, south, or east? There's a room. There's a goblin.
It's all text-based, yep.
Exactly, yes. So then I played, so I went to EverQuest, and then we did EverQuest 2, and then I did WoW. I did a couple of other ones in between there. And then after WoW, though, it was too toxic. It got too toxic for me, so I left the MMO world.
Did you play any other survival games before Valheim?
Well, I did. I played, like I said, I played a lot of Minecraft, and I also played No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is a space survival game.
Oh, yeah.
And that's actually kind of how I found Valheim, because I followed a bunch of builders on No Man's Sky, and from there, they started doing Valheim videos. And at first, I didn't want to do it because I was invested, but I haven't played No Man's Sky in a long time.
Yeah, I have it sitting there. I keep letting Steam update it, but yeah, I don't really play it since I've been into Valheim either.
And so what attracted you to play on Jiroc's gaming servers?
Well, I was devouring as much content as I could about Valheim, and I was actually watching Gaming with Christy. I think you guys know Gaming with Christy. I was watching her stream with another guy from No Man's Sky, and I would play Valheim while watching their stream and chat with them about Valheim at the same time, and it kind of felt like I was playing with friends. And then I'd seen your videos in the past, but at one point I stumbled on either a stream or a recording of one of your events where you were doing a kart race.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember Vaste won that kart race. and then there was another event after that. It was like a siege event or something, and you announced that you were going to do a seasonal server with like special bosses and everything. And within 20 minutes, I had applied on your Discord, and I was playing within, I don't know, 24 hours of that. Haven't gone back to my single player world since.
So were you playing a solo before joining Jiroc servers?
Yeah, I gotten up to about day 1200 on my solo game, and I still hadn't killed Yaglith. But I've killed Yaglith since I've been here, so. Yeah.
And what are some of your favorite things about playing on the servers now that you're with us on Jiroc servers?
To be honest, I would have a hard time picking one. I think one of my favorite things I do is every 2 weeks we do the big community build for the hotel in the resource server, and that for me is just a lot of fun. I really enjoy that, but I really like to play and have people on the voice chat while I play, just to listen to what they're doing, ask them questions, or talk about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So playing in a community is wonderful.
Yeah, that's always been my thing too. Single players, it's fun for a little while, and then it's fun to share experiences. I think pretty much like in real life. I remember doing a couple of big events in real life. Like I took a hike up to Half Dome and did the cable climb, and I did it with a group, luckily. So it was kind of fun to get to meet new people, but it would have been even better if I could have shared that experience with people that I knew. But, you get to know people, you get to make new friends if you expose yourself to new crowds. And I guess that's kind of what a multiplayer server has to offer too, right?
Yes. And don't get me wrong, the events that we have here are really great. I had a wonderful experience. I guess I'll talk about it a little bit later with the raid on Naomi.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So,
yeah,
before we get into all the cool Valheim stuff, I just like to get a little update for everybody, see if anybody did anything interesting over the last week or the weekend. And HK, why don't you tell us about your experiences?
Well, I was terribly ill.
Oh no!
So I played played a lot of Minecraft with my son and another game called Inquisition. It's got a multiplayer thing, and my wife and I played that together. But I missed my D&D/pool party session, so I'm bummed out about that.
Oh no!
Wait, when you say pool party, is it an actual pool party, or is it?
Well, it's a bunch of dorks at a pool party. It's not like hot people. No,
I mean, like, because sometimes when I talk to Morning Darkness, she talks about stuff and I'm like, I can't tell if she's talking or referring to something in D&D, so like not real, or if she's referring to something in real life. So I guess that was my question.
Oh, so you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and in the game, all the characters went to a pool and had a party.
Yes. No.
I never know.
Or did you have a pool party in real life and everybody was on floaties playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Well, we don't want to get our character sheets wet, so we just jump in every once in a while and then get back out.
That's funny.
Sounds fun.
I have to admit, I have not played Dungeons and Dragons or any other role-playing game in between getting in and out of a pool. How about you, Morning? Have you done that?
No.
Well, what about you, Morning? Did you do anything interesting over the last week?
Well, yes. So Gwen, you're gonna like this one, actually. I was making costumes for a game I was going to be in this weekend, a live action roleplay game, and
cool. LARP?
I was a LARP. I was sewing a cape out of velvet.
Oh dear. It was
hold on, it gets better.
You said velvet.
It gets better. with a silk lining.
Oh, Jesus. Why do you do this to yourself? Stop. You need to stop.
I was supposed to make 2 capes, but I ended up only making the one because I ended up having to hand stitch the whole thing because my sewing machine it was just not happening.
So for anyone who missed our previous conversation a couple of weeks back about sewing and how certain fabrics are absolute hell on earth to try to sew, well, anything satin or silky and velvet are 2 of the worst fabrics to sew on the sewing machine.
I combined them.
You are a masochist. I have no other words.
So anyway, I was in this LARP and I was a necromancer. And so it was a really great premise for a game. It was based on a different like pre-written LARP that's been around for a while. But what the writer of this game did is she took a concept based on a book series starting with Gideon the Ninth, written by Tasman Muir. Basically, if you haven't heard of it, think of necromancer space lesbians. And necromancers are freaking terrifying. And that'll give you kind of like on par with what the book's about. And it's very fun. It's a very meme-filled book. Little tropey, but very fun. And so I played a necromancer that was ill, and the whole goal is to like waltz with different people to try to figure out who your perfect cavalier partner is. And there were fake sword fights that were absolutely ridiculous and over the top. And it was really fun.
Awesome. Sounds like an exciting time.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I've never done LARPing, but I guess, reenactment is not too far from that.
That's
fantasy,
pretty close.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because there's quite a few. There's 2 types of reenactors. There's those that are quite happy to also do LARP and, they cross over the 2 worlds. And then there's those that kind of look at LARPers and also at the SCA, for anyone who's familiar with that, the Society for something creative anachronism. Yeah. So it's basically, it's a very North American thing. There's not that much representation of the SCA in Europe, but it's basically, I would say, kind of in between reenactment and LARP, where it's like not completely historically accurate, but also not completely fantasy. And there's always like a group of reenactors that are very much like looking down on LARPers or people from the SCA being like, why don't you do the real thing? If you put that much effort into your costumes, you might as well, yada, yada, yada. I don't care. I find it fun. Like LARP sounds very fun. Plus you get to do things like necromancy and, be whatever you want and do fantasy related things. So why not? Yes.
Yeah. I got one done and I was going to wear it, but since my co-team partner, we're the same house. It's hard to explain. My cavalier ended up needing something. So I let him wear it. And then I wore just like a cowl that I had gotten completed. So we still were kind of matchies.
I want to see the cape. I hope you you share a picture of the cape.
I will share.
Is it really swooshy? Does it like swoosh around can you do like the cool?
It's a half cape, so it's almost like a Tudor's cape where it buttons on the side and the cape goes down just past the fingers and it drapes back over the shoulder so that you can easily access your sword. Yeah, and it is very swishy.
Yeah, it has to be. All
very
things
soft.
have to be swooshy. That's the number one requirement.
Very soft and very pretty. I actually have it hanging up in my room right now.
Very cool.
Can't wait to see it.
Well, Gwen, I know that you were pretty busy because you missed the podcast last week. Can you tell us what pulled you away from us?
Yeah, well, everyone grab a seat because it's going to be a long one. I'll try to keep it brief and feel free to ask follow-up questions if you want to know more. But essentially, I disappeared from the servers and the podcast because I went to York for a week York in England, and mostly to attend the Jorvik Viking Festival, which is, I think, one of UK's biggest annual festivals around the kind of Viking era. And for those who know a bit of history, you would probably recognize Jorvik as the Viking or Norse name for York. It was a name of that was given to York by the Danes when they invaded, essentially. And it was the capital of the Danelaw and basically the Viking conquest of England.
So does
back
that
in
mean
the 9th century?
Does that mean that New York was named by Vikings?
Well, it was named by people who then maybe descendants of Vikings. Who knows? So York has a really, really old history. It's it's always been a bit of the capital of the north because of its placement in England. It's kind of halfway between the south of England, where London and other big towns are, and with like halfway up the country towards Scotland. It's also very close to the coast, which is why that whole coastal area was the first place that the Danes at the time, as they were called, invaded, because it was a short sail across the sea for them from Denmark and Sweden. And so there's a ton of history in that area. Before the Vikings, the Romans had invaded, well, pretty much all of England. So there's a lot of history and remains of like Romans. There's then, of course, the Anglo-Saxons, and then the Vikings, and after that, the Normans. So there's a huge amount of history there. And York has a big connection with kind of Viking history in England for that reason. And they have a fantastic museum called the Jorvik Viking Centre, which I recommend visiting if you're over there in York or in the area. And every year they organize a big festival, and it's usually, I think, across 10 days, and it's usually in February. But because of, COVID and plague reasons, they decided to move the date from February to May, which is why it ended up being last week. And for that reason, it was a bit smaller, apparently, from previous years. It was my first year attending, so I didn't really see much of I didn't know what to compare it to, but from what I heard from the reenactors and other people attending, it was a little bit smaller than what it would normally be, but it was still great. And essentially it was a whole weekend there was a bunch of reenactment markets, Viking markets, lots of people selling crafts and selling things, items and, Viking related things. There was also a living history camp with people showing displays of crafts and all sorts, where you could go and talk to reenactors and learn about the history of how people lived at the time, and lots of interesting things. And there was also we missed that, unfortunately, because we arrived on the day it was happening, but there's also a big march that they do where all the reenactors, all in their Viking gear, would march down the streets of York in all the very historical parts of York, and at the end of the march they all gather in a big grassy area and they do a fight. And I missed all of that, unfortunately. I saw some videos of it. It looked amazing. But so there's stuff like that happening. And then around that, there's lots of little events and lots of cool things to do around town. So went there for a week. I was actually working remotely from there for a couple of days. I'm lucky enough that I can do that because I work remotely. I don't have an office, so I could pretty much pick up my laptop and go work from anywhere. So decided to be in York for that week, and discovered York, beautiful city full of medieval buildings because of its history. Lots of great buildings and things to see. Lots of cool bars and very old pubs that look like taverns. And fantastic time in York.
I think I'm going to have to add that to one of my future trips. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, York itself is really pretty. There's just so much history. You walk down cobble streets with like the typical medieval buildings, like with the overhangs, and like everything is just so amazing. And if you do, for anyone listening who's in England or who is planning a trip to England, if you do go to York, go visit the Jorvik Viking Center, but also visit the Barley Hall, which is a medieval townhouse that was restored and basically filled with items that people would have used and how it would have looked like in the 14th century. And that was one of the highlights of my trip, I think, because just walking around in that townhouse and getting to see how rooms would be pretty much organized and set and what kind of everyday items people would have used in that time was pretty amazing. It's a great way to learn. That's why I love living history so much, because it's just a very good way to learn about history. And yeah, another place I would recommend visiting is Merton Park, which is a little bit outside of York. And it's a farming museum, but it's a huge site, and they so happen to also have a Roman fort, a reconstructed Roman fort, and a Viking village there. And so we went there on the way back at the end of our trip, stopped by the Viking village, and I had the best time and encounter with this tiny, it's quite a small, well, it was not many of them there, but it was a small Viking reenactment group, locals. They do this every year, and they kind of often are at that center. And I spoke there with the Jarl of that group, and we basically spoke for 2 hours. We were only meant to be there like just really shortly, but we ended up talking about so many stuff, like really sharing stuff about like Viking era, about our love for reenactment. And he offered me a tiny bottle of his homemade mead, because we just, basically I befriended the Jarl and he offered me mead. And it's such a good mead. Now I have to find a way to source more from him in the future, because it's very delicious.
That's delightful.
So when you meet these Vikings, do you ask them if they play Valheim?
I don't, actually. It doesn't really come up. I never really think of it. Also, it's like, I don't know. You see those people who are like basically living on camps and stuff like that for the weekend. Of course, they all have like day jobs and stuff like that. But you see them in that context, quite outdoorsy, living a historical life. And it just feels a bit out of place to be like, hey, by the way, do you game? Do you play this survival game? It just... I don't know. I should ask, though, because I'm sure they would.
If they're in character, they'll look at you strange and say, I know not of this thing you speak of. What is this video game?
Yeah.
Well, my week and weekend weren't nearly as exciting, but I did do my monthly poker game, and I also won it again this month. I ended up placing first, so people are starting...
Sounds like we need to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, they're
exactly.
They think it's rigged. And then Saturday, I hosted a barbecue, and oh my goodness, was that fun. I had about 15 people over, and we all got pretty well juiced, and there was lots of dancing going on into the evening out in the backyard. But
nice.
We're
nice. So you got to dance too.
Oh, absolutely. I dance like crazy. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I move.
Did you, what was it last time you told us that you basically ripped your ACL or something by dancing the MC Hammer dance?
Oh, you remember that?
Yes. Hopefully you didn't injure yourself this time.
Yeah, every time I start breaking into some crazy dance moves, everybody starts going, oh, be careful, be careful. And especially if the MC Hammer song comes on, because everybody looks at me, is he going to dance? Yeah. So that happened. And then Sunday, full weekend, we went to the Alameda Antiques Fair again, got some cool little treasures. I got an old Coca-Cola drinking glass. I have a couple of Pepsi ones. This is my first Coca-Cola one, so that's nice. And to continue adding to our animals in our front yard, we got these little rock ants. So they're the metal wire frames for the legs and the connecting body parts, but then it just uses like regular like river rocks about the size of a softball to form the three segments of the body. And we got a couple of those for our yard. It looked really cool. Couple of signs, and then one thing that I really love is I picked up an original Battlestar Galactica lunchbox, and it's in really good condition. It looks really cool. So
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah. I have an original Star Wars one too, but it's really, really beat up. But this one is in really great condition. So I was happy to put it on my shelf with my other things.
I have a Welcome Back Kata lunchbox that I found in my dad's garage.
Hey, that's probably worth something to somebody.
And I just want to take a quick break from the show to share with you one of my sponsors, the Grimfrost, an amazing company that sells really, really cool Viking products. They have over 1,000 different modern and historical Viking products. If you're interested, you should check them out. I have a link in the description, or you can go to my website, jiroctheviking.com/Grimfrost. Now back to the show.
So next we're going to talk about Valheim news. And Gwen, do you want to start us off with some Valheim news?
Yes, we did get some Valheim news. We got a new patch from the public test branch, the patch 0.209.5. And it announced some pretty cool stuff, some new content. We will finally get the maples that will be enabled in the building menu. So just as a reminder, PTB, the public test branch, means that it's now on test for the beta test. No, the beta testers, the people who are part of their public testing. And as soon as they can fix all the bugs and confirm that everything is fine, they will then release it for like as a normal patch for everyone to get. So right now you can only get it, I think, if you're part of the public test branch, right?
Yep.
But yeah, that means that usually, if all goes well, within the next week or so, we should probably see, and maybe by the time this podcast is out, it might already be patched out for everyone. So yeah, Yay! We will get finally the maples, which Yay, we were starting to wonder, right? We were like, well, it's going to be midsummer soon. It's going to be like the equinox soon. So when are we getting that maple for the summer to celebrate the summer? So yeah, we know that is coming. We already all know the recipe if we were playing last year. So I don't think the recipe will change. We will get a new item though for this again to celebrate midsummer.
Oh, before you announce that about those maypoles, somebody in my YouTube comments asked, why do maypoles come out in June? I don't know. I guess they should be called June poles.
Oh, because. I'm trying to remember when they came out last year. They must have come out around a bit earlier, because I remember having them for quite a while. And then they got removed like sometime in August or something, or September.
I was talking with Akia, and he had mentioned that there's actually a holiday when those type of things occur. Like, it's not actually the 21st of June, let me get a first day of summer. There's a specific holiday where that type of stuff happens. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, it is a big, unfortunately, I don't know enough about Scandinavian culture and holidays, but it is a big thing in that part of Europe, that, in the summer you have like all these celebrations of summer coming. And I think they do happen a bit earlier in June. It's not necessarily around the equinox.
It's actually, if I may.
Yeah, go on. If you may, Paul.
The maples totally should have come out in May. Sorry, Valheim. Sorry, Iron Gate. You guys missed this one. So the maypole dancing is a tradition for May Day, and it was introduced about 2,000 years ago in Roman Britain, essentially, and it's to celebrate Beltane. Or Beltania, depending on how you pronounce it. But yeah, Beltane's in May. Thank you very much. So we're approaching Midsummer, which is a different celebration for pagan celebration, but it is not the Maypole celebration. So I have been waiting. I was like, are they just not going to release them this year? I was desperately sad that they had not released them, because I did not expect them to show up. So...
Yeah.
Well, at least now we know it's coming. But yeah, thanks for the clarification. I hear about pagan holidays and stuff through, my circles of I don't know, Viking enthusiasts. But yeah, I wasn't sure on the dates and where they originate from and so on. But yeah, flower crowns are coming. So
Yes.
that's a new thing that we're getting. We're getting the maple, but I guess maybe a sorry we're a bit late. They chucked in a flower crown in there. So that is going to be really exciting. And it looks like they're going to be using dandelions. So we finally have some use to all these dandelions that we're hoarding all year round. And yeah, apparently they give 1 armor as well.
Flower crowns are a thing for this.
Yeah, they are.
Can I get that cross-modded so that I can have like the same armor as like padded?
Oh, you mean transmod?
Transmogged?
Transmodded, yes.
Yeah, I doubt it because it doesn't have a level on it, but I'll have to play with it to see if that's possible. They do make a great decoration, though, if you put it on an item stand or even an armor stand. So I can see people doing all kinds of fun things, or using the item stand all items to transform it and make it a giant, circle around their hot tub or something.
Yeah, but it's really cool, and I am totally going to use those flower crowns as table decorations, as a centerpiece, and then stick a torch in the middle or something.
Yes,
yes. It looks almost. It would look almost like wedding decorations, wedding centerpieces, with like a candle and flowers.
It does look more like for formal events.
Yeah, exactly.
You could put all item stands and shrink them down real small and offset them so they float on the top of your hot tub, so you have flowers in your bathtub.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my word!
Yeah,
that is an excellent idea.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what people do with the mods these days. Pretty exciting stuff.
I'm just happy to have more greenery, to be honest, like to have more like things with flowers and plants, because we're missing that a little bit as a decorative items in the game. So yeah, that's cool. And we're also getting something that I think a lot of us were hoping for, that might be a bit of a hint for things to come, which is new banners with new colors.
Yeah. Exciting.
And now I'm thinking, like we've been talking a lot on this podcast about wanting more customization, wanting more color options on armor and things like that. I wonder if this is a first kind of test or first little teaser of things to come.
So the new banners, the orange, the yellow, and the purple, are all the same exact pattern as the red one. So like just giving us the ability to dye them would be nice. Yes, the green one too. So the ability to dye them would be nice. And the white one is just the same pattern as the black one, just in reverse. But so I think there's only 3 or 4 patterns. I would love the ability to just dye them any color I want. But at least we have different, more colors to choose from now.
Hey, we almost have a rainbow at this point.
Yeah.
Just in time for Pride.
Oh, just on time for Pride.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the purple was quite a surprise. It's like it's almost like magenta color, I guess. It's like very bright. Okay, I'm going to be annoying and be pedantic here. But I mean, I am glad to see, white makes sense because white linen, bleach linen makes sense. Orange and yellow, I'm very, very glad to see, because those would be very common colors to see in the Viking and any medieval or early medieval time, because orange and yellow are very easy colors to do with natural dyes. Purple would be reserved to the very rich. And I don't even think that, I'm not even sure that during the Viking age, they could achieve purple so easily. I know that in a bit later on in the 12th century they did, and purple would only be obtained with 2 options. I think it was like stuff from the Middle East and a sort of snail, cochineal, I think it was called, a snail from far distant lands, that you had to have a lot of them, and you had to basically crush and ferment the snails to get this purple color. And because of just how far those things came from, the dye stuff, it was really only the very rich that could afford that sort of color. And that's why for a very long time in most of Europe, purple was a color that was reserved for royalty and for the church. So there you go, a bit of history there. So purple, I don't know if it would be super appropriate to have like purple everywhere in a Viking house, but yellow, white, orange, green, all those colors are very historically accurate, which I'm really happy about. Not sure about the bright blue and the bright reds. Again, very rich colors. You have to over dye a lot to get those colors, and only the very rich could get them. But yeah, otherwise, can't fault Iron Gate too much for adding more colors.
Well, they probably Googled it, because there's tons of websites that just add purple as one of the common colors.
Yeah, so I think purple, it really depends on the shade of purple. So you could get it, but you could actually mix blue and red to get a light purple. But to get a very vibrant or deep purple, it would be, you could only really achieve that with this kind of snail that you get only in the Mediterranean, I think. So it would have, needed to be traded in or brought in from quite a distance.
Yeah,
but hey, Vikings were big traders. That was their main thing. They were trading more than raiding.
Yeah, absolutely. Trading and farming. I remember reading that Vikings did a lot of farming. Most people just think of them as, these horned helmet wearing barbarians on ships raiding Europe.
I hope they had the farming mod.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Make farming a little easier.
Well, maybe they had plows and carts that could be pulled by
locks,
cattle.
By locks,
by a locks. Yeah. So as part of the this patch in the public test branch, there's also a number of fixes and improvements more on a technical level. And I believe that it was mentioned in the last post, the Steam community post that they did a couple of weeks ago. So it was all the cloud sync issues that they were mentioning that they wanted to fix. So the fixes read Unity updated to version 2020.3.33 should reduce crashes. So there's just an update of Unity, I guess. Tamed animals now follow the player into Haldor's force field.
Ooh.
So that is that's pretty cool. I mean, I never noticed that they didn't, because I guess I never really took my pet wolves to Haldor's, but now you can put them in safety. Tweaks to Yagluf's hair so it no longer flies around in the air.
Again,
it's not something I've noticed.
Yeah, I thought that was a feature.
Oh, so you've seen it?
No, I'm just kidding.
Like static hair just floating around. So they tweaked that, I guess, to improve the animation. Console command exclusive full screen is now toggleable. I have no clue what that means. I'm guessing it's for people playing on the Steam Deck?
Toggleable?
It probably means you don't have to restart the game to get it. You can just switch it to exclusive full screen mode, and the game will just go into that mode rather than windowed mode. You might have had to restart the game for that.
Oh, possible. And then mods can now set an is modded flag to let players and our support know the game is modded. Okay, so Jiroc, I'm pretty sure you've got stuff to say about that, because I believe this is essentially to try to filter through some of the most common help desk requests from players claiming that there might be bugs or problems in the game, when really those problems are not in the game, they're caused by mods. So I guess now they have an easier way to identify if a mod is being used or not, so that they can go through those help support requests quicker.
Yeah, even I'm guilty of that. I've posted on their channel that there's a bug in the game. I think actually was one that Morning found, and it turned out to be a mod. She told me, if you remember, Morning, that there was snow appearing in places where it shouldn't. So I went in there and I reported, that there's snow appearing, and I posted a picture. And then we uninstalled the mod, and then there was no snow there. So so it helps them to know, because I hang out in their channels once in a while too. When I'm working or doing video editing, I'll just have the channels scrolling by, and I see a lot of people saying, I have this problem, I have that problem. And then it seems like more than half of the problems are mod related. And now they have a flag that I guess happens so that they can tell if your game version is modded. And that will just help people to figure that out and not blame Iron Gate.
That's really good. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's also really good to really help root out some of the issues, because I know some people have really been struggling and they don't use mods.
Yeah.
And some people like me, where I'm just like, oh, this seems really wrong. I mean, it's not changing gameplay, so I'm not going to worry about it. But this is really weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then as I mentioned, they fixed some issues regarding the Steam Cloud saves. So I think that will just make things run smoother for everyone. I think it's just transfer. Someone explained it to me on like a YouTube comment that essentially it's transferring the where the game saves to Steam rather than wherever it was saved before. So it should fix some of the issues of saves not working properly and whole worlds being erased and so on.
Reverted. Yeah, I actually know a story about this too. If you want to hear it, I don't know.
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay. I know someone who I've been doing no map with, and she had a world, and she, would go all the way up to like day 300, 400 something, and the world would revert back to day 30.
Oh no.
Oh my
And this
gosh.
happened like 5 or 6 times in a row.
Ouch.
And so she's like, I am so sick and tired of building this stupid castle that I have been
It's like
farming.
Groundhog Day.
Oh
real.
Yeah, no, it was brutal. So I'm really glad to hear that they're fixing that.
Oh yeah, I remember reading too. It had some part of it had something to do with if multiple people would log in to Steam on the same computer, then the save games would get mixed up somehow. But whatever it is, I'm glad they fixed that because that's one of the things that terrifies me running a server. I back it up once in a while in addition to the automatic backups that happen. But yeah, if we lost, what are we on day 11,000 or 12,000 now? If it reverted back to some earlier time, especially day 30, a lot of people would be upset.
Yeah. When you get like a 10-minute rollback, people are hey,
what
I
happened?
just mined all this copper. What happened?
Yeah. That also sometimes causes item duplication and stuff. Because if you take something from a chest and it's on your character saved, then the world rolls back and then that thing is still back in the chest and then you have it on your character also. So that can pose issues, but different than single player saved games. And it sounds like that's mainly what they fixed there. But some of the new videos we posted, as Morning was mentioning earlier, I did do a quick little video on the public test branch, Midsummer Crowns, and reintroduction of the maypoles. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my item stand all items to work with it, so I could do some weird, funky stuff and resize it and spin it around and whatnot, or make it float in my hot tub. But it did show some interesting little things about that. And then I showed all the colored banners and how there's recycling the pattern on the red and the green one and the black one for the white one. I was really kind of hoping we'd get some new patterns, but I guess that's an easy way to give us new content, just to go in there and change the color and put that out. So at least we have the color, even if we don't actually have a new asset. And
I'd love to see the ability to just dye existing fabrics. That would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah. And what about you, Morning? You post anything new in the videos this last week?
I'm almost back to full schedule. I did no map last week. We're going to do no map again this week, which I'll have already done by the time this podcast is released. But last week we finished, I finished my storage hut that I made, which I'm kind of excited about. I'm actually going to post it on Valheimians. It's all of the crafting materials in chests labeled in the way that Kondo labels the chests, where you embed the sign into the chest itself.
Oh, yeah.
So you never tap the sign to when you're trying to get to the item and you're like, oh, I didn't want to undo the writing of that. And, so that never happens with this.
Yeah.
And it's all of the crafting items in alphabetical, in a circle, like in a perfectly round hut. And then I have the boss drop items. I have the trophies by biome. And then I have columns where it's 4 chests of wood, 4 chests of stone, 2 chests of fine wood, 2 chests of core wood in 3 columns. And I'm actually really, really proud of it. So anyway, I finished my storage hut and then we found the elder.
Ooh. Did you give him the business?
We haven't killed it yet because wanted to wait until other people could come back this week. So we're going to kill the elder this week on Wednesday. So 2 days ago when the podcast releases. And then we were sailing some tin back from the elder to our main base. But, we're still kind of trying to figure out where all the islands are and how they're shaped and whatnot. And I died.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Did you manage to recover your gear? Or?
Yeah. So I was it was me and another player, Bonnie, and she has this vendetta against trolls that
I don't blame her.
So we saw a troll cave. We were jumping out of the boat to go get the troll, and then a troll spawned outside of the cave right as we were getting on shore, and it was a log troll. And I had just hopped out of the water. I didn't have any stamina. I was trying to run away from the troll, and I got swacked. So Bonnie was able to go in and find some fine wood, and she found a burial chamber so she could get the cores. And then the thing that took the longest was getting the great orifice. When you need them the most, they're the hardest to get. But yeah, so we were able to at least get the portal back to the boat up so I could get my body and all of that. So we still haven't found the base yet, but I've been dreaming about how to navigate better all week, and hopefully I'll come up with some tricks and shenanigans for Wednesday. Tomorrow.
Nice. Well, at least somebody was giving business, even if it wasn't you to the elder, it was the troll to you.
Yeah. And then I have done a couple of videos. I finally got to adventuring. I haven't actually gotten to play on Jiroc's playground server or resource server in almost a month. So I went and I finally got to go and get enough Fenris hair to upgrade my Fenris armor. Yay.
Nice.
And then last night I finished some POIs for season 2.
Ooh, I'll have to go check those out later.
They need review. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Glenn? Did you get any videos up this last week since you've been back?
Yeah, since I've been back, yesterday I've done a stream. I did a build tour of one of the players on Jiroc's Viking playground called Ragnar. He is an amazing player. He was actually one of the very first players of the server. He joined a couple of days after me, I think. And he built some incredible builds, I remember at the time. I can't remember if we ever got to actually tour any on our server tours, but incredible builds, incredible builder. Then he took a bit of a break and he returned a couple of weeks ago. And he's been working the past 2 weeks on this amazing castle on top of a mountain. I knew by his previous builds that it would be pretty amazing, and he was like, "Yeah, this is like next level. It's definitely a step up." So I was really excited, and I took Bambi and Gorth, 2 of our admins and friends from the server, on the tour with me, and we were all like, jaw to the floor when we saw the build. I was able to do a few a bit of free flying camera around the build because you really need to see it in like the whole thing, not just from the ground. It is so amazing, so beautiful. Wonderful castle. So the whole stream took a while because we got a bit distracted and shenanigans happened. But I have added some chapters, so if you want to skip straight to see the castle, you can. On my YouTube channel. And it's, if you like castles and you want inspiration for building, especially building like castles on top of mountains, definitely check that out because it's wonderful. And apparently he took inspiration from another YouTuber who did a similar build, and he made it his own style, his own stamp on it. And what I really liked is that not only the build itself is beautiful and blends in really nicely with the mountain, but also some of the decorative touches that he's done. He's used I think for the first time he was saying he was using the all items, all stands mod, and also the resizing option, which unfortunately you don't see on my stream because I hadn't activated it. But even without that, apparently it was only some small subtle touches. He was able to create some pretty creative things, like a mini potted tree out of abomination trophies and stuff like that, which actually you don't need this mod to do that. You can do that in vanilla. But lots of really cool little ideas that you can take from that stream, just watching the build tour. Definitely a few ideas that I'm taking for my future builds.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check out that video. I saw you post it, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, I saw some of that, and it was just a stunning build.
Mm-hmm.
Stunning.
Yeah. Cool. Well, speaking of what's going on the server, we're going to talk a little bit about some server events and updates. Morning, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So we missed this last week, so I have 2 weeks to announce and welcome new members to our server. So with the greatest capacity of our hearts, we would like to welcome Doombringer, Sticken, Raging Viper, Ander Erling, and Dover to the server.
Yeah, welcome new players.
Welcome everyone.
And as always, you guys can ask all your questions in any of the chats. All the players are super helpful. And if you can't get an answer from them and you need to elevate it, always tag @helper and one of the staff will see it and try to help you out. But yeah, welcome. And Glenn, how about you? What's been going on for server events and news?
Well, I have, from the distance of York, I was able to follow a little bit on Discord what was going on. I saw that there was a couple of raids happened on our resource server on our Hotel New Womi, which is the hotel that we build every 2 weeks for the use of the community, for people to have like a rested spot, a place to store their the materials that they've been grinding on the resource server, and a bed to respawn. And yeah, Hotel Nuomi came under attack a couple of times, I think, from various mobs. And I think Halitosis Kid, you were there. You helped fend off some of those raids.
Yeah, I was there for the troll raid. I heard there was later a wraith raid, but it was a tremendous amount of fun, mostly because there was something at stake, as opposed to, I mean, a lot of the events are really fun, but this one was personal. I spent a long time building that hotel, and for me to have the chance to defend it, you know, that was nice. I really enjoyed it. I don't want to invite more calamity on the hotel, but I would enjoy that type of thing in the future.
Nice.
Well, yeah, and the resource server, because it does reset with a new seed and a new map every 2 weeks, that hotel, that temporary hotel, is the perfect thing right now to have raids on that the players have a little bit at stake and have to defend, as opposed to doing it on the permanent server. However, if anybody on the permanent server would like to invite a raid on their permanent base or house or castle or whatever it be, you can always let us know and we can arrange an event and see how well you can defend it and maybe recruit some of the other players to help you do that. Let's see. So some other server news. We had the Great Folding was this week, so there is a new hotel up ready for new raids to happen. And while that new hotel was being built in the town they call New Omi, because on the main server they have the town of Naomi, one of the first town built on the server. The event that happened was I set up 2 frost caves that were reinforced with much higher level mobs than normal. Everything was boosted to 2 stars and given 2 or 3 times the amount of health. And they each had about 2 or 3 times the normal amount of mobs inside, which is great for looting, especially like in Morning's case, needing some more Fenris hair. You can get that because the 2 stars drop more and there's more of them. And I also hid some chests throughout the cave in very awkward little spots that the players had to figure out. And for me, it's easy because in admin mode, I brighten up the lighting inside in admin mode, but with that dark cave environment, it's harder to see and find the chests in the little places that I hid them. But the players had a lot of fun and they found them pretty quickly, actually. So not too bad. Something else we have going on the servers is one of our players is working with the community on a new Stargate system, and I'm hoping to see that comes actually, happens, and the players are helping, because this would be such a great thing. So we were trying to figure out how to get the players around to all of the wonderful builds on the server. We have portals, portal hubs, and there's hundreds of portals all over the server because of how many players there are. But having a system where you could just place one portal with a name on it and have a central hub where the Stargate hub, where you have 1, 2, or 3 portals that are always left blank and unconnected. And then you have signs along the wall that you can just dial the Stargate to, just like in the show Stargate or the movie. You dial it to the portal that you want to visit. And then, so all the people who have interesting builds would submit the name of their portal, their Stargate portal. And then you just dial in. That's the only portal that can connect to it. If you show up there, who that portal is connected to somewhere. So there must be somebody visiting that place. And I suggested a login system too for the Stargate. So there'd be a sign next to the Stargate so you can see who's dialing in. So you can contact them if you want to disconnect it to go somewhere else and visit one of the other builds. This way, we don't leave somebody stranded at one of the builds because you turn off the Stargate and dial it up somewhere else. So that will be fun if we can get that going.
That is so creative. Yeah. That is so creative and wonderful.
So now we're going to talk about one of the things we love talking about, and it is things we'd like to see changed in game. It's already great, and they have a lot of new content coming, but there's always room for improvement. That said, HK, what would you like to see changed if you had a magic button to press?
Well, I have more than one, but I think currently the thing I want the most is the ability to not have my hammer wind up on an item stand. That would be nice.
It steals your hammer, doesn't it?
Yeah, all the time, especially now that I'm using that all item stand mod. So, but long term, I'd love to see like a dedicated creative mode. And I know we can do that with mods, but it would be nice to not have to remember all the admin commands and something like that.
So you're cheating. Maybe you're slipping in a second one for a future episode.
Ooh, I'm cheating.
Yeah. So you don't want your hammer stolen. Good. Okay. That's yours.
That's it. Yes.
Morning. How about you? One thing you would like to change. What would it be?
All right. So you know how we have like waterways and rivers and island lakes and inlet seas. Yes. I want aqueducts. I want like more of this. I want to be able to create more of this. I want to see more of it. It's so rare to find a lake. And I really, really want like a lake house.
Oh, and it has to be basically in lowland area, right? Because the water level, we don't have any water up high, like in hills or mountains or anything.
Imagine, mountain lakes. That would be amazing to have like some of the mountains. Springs, exactly. So that there are rivers flowing down the mountain and then creating those little lakes like you can see in the mountains. But the problem with that, although I have the same wish, I think the problem with water is that the physics of it in the game,
I know,
the water doesn't flow. So
I know.
That's one of the problems that they have, that's why they can't really create things like waterfalls and so on. It would be like a total rewrite of the way water is working. However, because with the tar pits, they have added those physics of flow, like liquid kind of flowing and moving from one point to another. There's been talks about, is that going to mean that we'll see that with water in the future? But I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but I feel like we asked that, or someone asked that to one of the devs while doing an interview, and they said that probably not in the near future.
Yeah. No. So, I mean, shortlist, I would love to see more randomization where they just create more rivers, more inland seas, more little mini lakes. Like that would be really cool if those were more common. Even 5% more common would make a huge difference. But yeah, no, I would love to have waterfalls or springs or, but yeah, no, I know that the way the water in the world is at one level and it's all over the world, no matter. Yeah. So I totally get it. I get the physics, but yeah, that's what I would love to see.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really understand the water system until I had a no-clip mode in admin. And when you fly into the ground, you basically see the water at water level.
Yeah.
And it just, so the water, the ocean, whatever the water, it's everywhere. The entire world's covered in water. And
it's one entity, isn't it? It's just one object that covers the whole world.
Yeah, and then
they've obviously managed to figure out how to have some sort of a water object for the hot tubs. I know that Morning Darkness, you did something with that.
Yeah, the water in the hot tub is definitely something they've been able to do, and you can put fish in it, and they'll move around just like they would in regular water. So they can do a big water container like that. Then maybe there's hope for the future,
right?
Yeah,
and I wonder if that's how the tar pits work, is maybe they have a water container and that has a level that can fall.
Well, Gwen, what about you? You want to change something in Valheim and you push the button and what happens?
So again, going on about customization and more outfits for characters. I'm never going to stop on that. Well, now that I've seen the flower crowns, I want more hats. I want more just like random decorative everyday hats, because you shouldn't, as a Viking, have to walk around in your padded helmet while farming or, cooking. It doesn't make sense. You should have just an everyday hat for everyday chores.
Yeah.
And so because we have the Yule hat and we have the crowns now for summer, I hope that for the in-between seasons, we get some nice knitted hats, like the proper Viking null binding. It's a type of knitting that the Norse cultures did, and that would be nice to have that sort of thing in game. Just more different outfit options, so that we don't need to run around in armor and helmets all the time.
Yeah, I always thought that hooded look was a little. It didn't really feel Viking. The troll hood, or that they didn't really feel like a Viking time thing. I mean, I'm sure it was. It's easy enough to do a hood and a cape, big squares of cloth.
Yes, so that's the thing, right? Hoods were very common. The problem with the design of the hoods in the game is they look like modern hoodie hoods, not like Viking hoods. And I have this crazy project. Long-term thing. I don't know when I'll ever have time to do this, but I want to try to recreate a little bit more historically accurate version of some of the hoods in the game. Like what shape they would have had, and using fabrics and colors like as close as possible as the ones in the game, but still kind of authentic that it could pass for a real Viking one.
What are you going to use for troll hide?
For troll hide, it would probably just wool for all of them.
Yeah.
But just it's more about the shape, really. It's like it's just a few things. If they had made the hood look a bit more triangular, like a bit more pointy at the back and with a triangle at the front that comes down to your chest, that would have looked super authentic. Instead, we get this kind of, the troll leather hood is even weirder because it doesn't actually close up at the front. So it's like, how is it holding on your head? It's just like a folded piece of cloth, basically. It doesn't attach around your neck. So I don't know.
Well, and I remember watching that YouTube channel that you sent me, and I've bbeen watching a lot of his videos, the Welsh Viking.
The Welsh Viking.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah, and he was talking about the tunics in the game, not in the game, but in Viking Age. Mostly made out of wool because that's common, but it was long and it went down to your knees at minimum, and probably longer than that in most cases. And so I was looking at the Valheim outfits, and the tunics don't go anywhere near the knees. It's like mid-thigh.
They barely cover your butt. Yeah.
So I just hear his voice saying, "Nope, Valheim's not very accurate," or
Well, yeah, I think he did a video where he talked about Valheim, because of course, like every Viking enthusiast, he played Valheim when it came out. So I think about a year ago, he did a video where he was talking about about all the things in game, and I can't remember what he said about. I'm guessing what he said about the outfits, but I remember him saying that the boats, the ships that we have in the game are pretty accurate. They're pretty nicely done.
Oh yeah,
but yeah, the outfits we'll have to we'll have to try again.
Yeah, I see that video now. I have not watched because I just started working my way through his videos backwards. I have to go watch that one.
Yeah, it's so one of my long-term projects potentially for my channel is I do want to recreate some of the stuff in Valheim, probably starting with clothing, but do it in a bit more of a historical version of it, trying to blend basically the world of Valheim and the living history that I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Well, so if I could change anything in game, it would be to do to basically just add creative and admin tools to the game. We don't really have those at all in a multiplayer environment, and we have very limited ones in single player. And so we interviewed the modder Jiroc Kusula a few weeks ago, and his 3 mods, almost every feature from those 3 mods are desperately needed for creative and admin mode. Then that would be server dev commands, Infinity Hammer, and World Edit. Without those, I would be crippled, handicapped running a server or trying to do the creative stuff the way that I want to do them. And so I'd love to see those tools added to the base game, because I do worry. This is one modder, and I know that there are other modders out there. But what happens if something happens to him in real life, or life takes him away from his modding? Then we lose the ability to use those mods, and that would just be super tragic. So I'd love to see them make it into the base game of Valheim. So we're going to talk about us, for the listeners who've made it to the last 5% of listeners who've made it to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Some interesting facts about us. Gwen, would you like to start?
Yeah, and for this week, I thought we'd spice things up, and we are going to be talking about food. And instead of doing the classic, oh, what's your favorite food? Here's a little question that I'll pose you all. If you had one food or one dish, let's say, that you have to eat for the rest of your days because you're stranded on an island, which dish would you pick? And let's start with you, MD.
With me? Well, I'm going to totally twist what you're asking for on its end. Of course I do. I used to be a nutritionist, and I also took a number of classes on how to identify edible plants and how to harvest different animals, that sort of thing. So I would actually eat what was on the island. I'd be very content with doing all kinds of things. But for me, what it's really about is spices. And so if I could pick one spice that I could forever have with me, I'd have to pick between one of 2. I would pick either garlic or just yellow curry. And the reason why I would actually probably lean more towards garlic, but you can roast it, you can slice it raw, you can dry it out and powder it. You can do all kinds of different things for different flavor profiles. And so for me, I could eat anything on that island that you threw at me, as long as I could harvest salt from the water, and as long as I could have some garlic.
Okay, so the island has no animals or food that can grow. So you just bring endless boxes of garlic with you.
Garlic salad. Garlic for breakfast.
All right.
What's one food you'd bring? You can't eat everything on the island. That's not fair.
Fine. I would choose eggs.
Eggs?
You
can do a lot with eggs.
You can do a lot with eggs.
So, but what kind of eggs would you bring? Like, it's one dish. What dish would you bring? Would you bring scrambled eggs? Would you bring deviled eggs? Fine. Would you bring egg salad? Would you bring, what dish would you bring with you? And you have to eat that same dish 3 times a day, every day for the rest of your life.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I would choose Southwestern salad. There.
Oh, there you go. See, that's a good choice. Southwestern salad's tasty.
What's in southwestern salad?
So it's usually
teach me the uncultured European.
It's usually like a combination of like romaine lettuce and some cabbage and some carrots and radishes, or maybe some other sorts of things. Tortilla chips, pepitas,
beans, maybe
feta, or cotija cheese. What's that?
Maybe some beans, black beans, or
maybe
some
some
kind of
beans. Yeah, maybe some beans.
Kind of cilantro dressing of some kind.
Right, a cilantro vinaigrette of some kind. Yeah, that's what a southwestern salad would be to me. And avocado. Oh, avocado, tomato.
Avocado.
Yeah. Okay.
And for the meat eaters, grilled chicken, of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. We finally pulled it out of you.
Nice.
Either boxes of garlic or southwestern chicken salad.
Boxes of garlic.
Although I have to agree with you, I do love me some garlic, and I could eat that a lot.
Right? Yeah, you can roast it and spread it on bread. You can do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So what about you, Halitosis Kid? What's your one dish that you're doomed to eat until the rest of your life, until the rest of your days?
I would say
until the end of your days.
The end of my days, till the rest of my life, every day, 3 times a day. I would say lam pasanda, sometimes known as lamb korma. And if I could sneak some naan on the side, I would do that too.
It could be part of the dish.
Oh yeah.
So it sounds like an Indian food choice for you, which
for sure.
Yeah, I've tasted a lot of different foods from around the world, and I pretty much enjoy something from almost every style. But for me, I think Indian food is one of the most flavor packed. I always love my food super spicy and super flavorful. So yes, Indian food for me, and it would have to be chicken tikka masala. And my wife and all my friends, if you ask them that question on my behalf, they would look at you and say, chicken tikka masala, duh. That's all.
Yeah, that was my favorite before lamb pasanda. So I'm right there with you.
Nice.
But you should try lamb pasanda.
Yeah, it looks delicious here on the thing. And I might have had the korm. You said it was called korm. That actually sounds more korma.
Korma.
Yeah,
korma.
Yeah, korma.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very similar. They're not exactly the same, but some restaurants don't have pasanda, so you have to get the korma.
Yeah.
But isn't korma quite mild? Isn't that like the mildest option?
I can't do the spices. My stomach won't take it. So I'm too much of a wuss.
It looks just like a very mild version of tikka masala, actually, to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
it's got a different taste though. It's got a very different taste. I think tikka masala has a lot.
There's a sweetness to tikka masala that the korma is more savory. So
awesome. How about you, Gwen?
So I'm lucky to have grown up with some of the best cuisines in the world, French food and Japanese food. And I also love Italian. I think if I had to pick just a country to just eat from for the rest of my life, I think Italian would probably be my choice. But if I had to pick a dish, it would have to be either some sort of stew, like meat-based stew, just because it's got a bit of everything. It's got like the tasty sauce, it's got vegetables, it's got meat, so it would be quite a healthy-ish balanced food. But I think if it was really something I had to eat 3 times a day for the rest of my life, I think I would pick sushi, actually.
Oh, sushi. Yeah, they can prepare that in quite a lot of different ways.
Yeah, exactly, because you have such a big variety of fish that you can eat, and also like vegetarian sushi. I guess you could have maki. So, and also very healthy. It's not for nothing that Japanese people are some of the people who live the longest, who have the longest life expectancy, is because of all the very healthy foods they eat. So, a very long life of eating only sushi. That sounds fine to me.
Assuming mercury-free meat. So,
yeah, exactly.
If I'm on an island, maybe it's fresh fish from the ocean that I fish myself to make myself my own sushi. Although that means that I need to have a rice cooker and good Japanese rice.
See, I was under the impression that it was teleported in, via some sort of GM on the,
Now, this is Star Trek, and we live in the year 2400, and we just have one of those replicator machines that just make your food for you every day, but it only has one thing on the menu.
It's broken. It only has one thing.
Is there a particular style of sushi or fish that you would get if we push you to the same requirement as we did with Morning to say, I would eat this kind of sushi prepared this way?
Mm-hmm. That's only fair.
Southwestern sushi. Southwestern sushi.
Southwestern sushi. California rolls. No, actually, yeah, California rolls are quite nice. It's got avocado and stuff. Yeah, maybe.
See, we got you in the Southwestern
maybe, yeah, maybe a California roll just because it's got vegetables in it. Otherwise, if it's like, if we go down the more traditional route, I would probably say a good tuna, like fresh tuna nigiri. So just the rice with the tuna on top.
Yeah.
With a slice, with a side of shiso leaf, which is this very fragrant leaf that you eat with the tuna. And the combination of two is just, best thing in the world. And if you have a tuna that's really nice and fresh, or if you get maguro tuna, which is the very fatty tuna, quite expensive as well, the thing just melts in your mouth. It's beautiful.
So tuna California rolls. That's all you get to eat for the rest of your life. Got it?
Wow.
Or ice cream, maybe, but that's not very nourishing. I would probably not live very long and have diabetes.
Now, this replicator machine adds all the nutrients needed to live long and healthy life.
Then in that case, it's ice cream.
I was going to say.
Really
everybody's backtracking and choosing things that taste good now.
Oh, yeah.
I still stick with chicken tikka masala. Well, on that note, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thanks for joining me, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Good time.
That's it for now. Have fun out there.
Thank you for listening to Podheim, Jiroc's Valheim podcast. We have new episodes coming out every Friday, and if you enjoyed listening, please support us by subscribing to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a rating and a review to help more Vikings find us. We also have a Patreon with perks for supporters like behind-the-scenes discussions, exclusive content, and segments that are edited out of the main podcast. And if you'd like to join our friendly Discord community, we have more than 1,000 people there. Just go to discord.gg/Jiroc the Viking. If you'd like to play on my Valheim servers, just go to my website at jiroctheviking.com and submit an application. I'd like to give a huge shout out to my supporters, some of them on Patreon, the YouTube membership, and the ones who help boost our Discord server. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to make more videos, as well as run a community Discord and multiple Valheim gaming servers. If you enjoy my videos and would like to support my work, join our friendly Discord community and Valheim servers. Links can be found in the description below. Skål!